Hey there, folks! Today, we're delving into the shadowy world of murder mysteries. From perplexing cold cases to chilling serial killers, these stories will send shivers down your spine. So grab your detective hat and join us as we count down the top 10 murder mysteries that still leave us scratching our heads. Number 10. The Black Dahlia. Kicking off our list is the infamous case of the Black Dahlia. In 1947, the mutilated body of Elizabeth Short was found in Los Angeles, sparking one of the most sensational murder investigations in history. Short's body was grotesquely mutilated, her corpse cut in half at the waist and drained of blood. Despite numerous suspects and theories, the identity of her killer remains a haunting mystery. Number 9. The Axeman of New Orleans. Next up is the terrifying tale of the Axeman of New Orleans. In the early 20th century, this mysterious serial killer struck fear into the hearts of residents with his brutal attacks. His modus operandi involved breaking into homes and attacking his victims with an axe, leaving a trail of blood and terror in his wake. Despite a massive manhunt and even a letter purportedly written by the killer himself, the Axeman's true identity was never uncovered. Number 8. The Zodiac Killer. Moving on to one of the most notorious serial killers of all time, the Zodiac Killer. Throughout the late 1960s and early 1970s, this enigmatic figure taunted authorities with cryptic messages and gruesome murders. His targets were often young couples parked in lovers' lanes, ambushed and brutally attacked. Despite decades of investigation and numerous suspects, the Zodiac's identity remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. Number 7. The Hinterkaifeck Murders. Our next chilling tale takes us to the remote farmstead of Hinterkaifeck in Germany. In 1922, 6 members of the Gruber family were brutally murdered with a pickaxe. The killer apparently lingered in the house for several days after the murders, consuming food and tending to the livestock. Despite extensive investigation, no motive or suspect was ever identified, leaving the case shrouded in mystery. Number 6. The JonBenét Ramsey Case. The mysterious death of 6-year-old beauty queen JonBenét Ramsey shocked the world in 1996. Her body was found in the basement of her family's home in Boulder, Colorado, with evidence of strangulation and sexual assault. Despite intense media scrutiny and numerous theories, including speculation involving her own family, the truth behind JonBenét's tragic demise remains elusive, leaving many unanswered questions. Number 5. The Villisca Axe Murders. In 1912, the small town of Villisca, Iowa, was rocked by a gruesome mass murder. 8 people, including 6 children, were bludgeoned to death with an axe while they slept. The killer covered the victims' faces with cloth and mirrors, adding an eerie and disturbing element to the crime scene. Despite multiple suspects and investigations, the identity of the Villisca axe murderer remains unknown, casting a long shadow over the community. Number 4. The Cleveland Torso Murders. Our next tale of terror brings us to Cleveland, Ohio, during the 1930s, where a series of grisly murders shocked the nation. Dubbed the Cleveland Torso Murders, these killings involved dismemberment and decapitation, with many of the victims remaining unidentified. The killer's brutality and lack of a clear motive have led to speculation that they may have been a sadistic serial killer or possibly even a medical professional. Despite exhaustive efforts by law enforcement, the case remains unsolved to this day. Number 3. The Case of Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper. The name alone sends chills down the spine. In the fog-shrouded streets of Victorian London, this shadowy figure preyed upon women, leaving a trail of mutilated bodies in his wake. His victims were often prostitutes, brutally murdered and mutilated with surgical precision. Despite numerous theories and suspects, the true identity of Jack the Ripper has never been definitively determined, making him one of history's most infamous killers. Number 2. The Long Island Serial Killer. Our penultimate tale takes us to Long Island, New York, where a string of gruesome murders has haunted residents for over a decade. Dubbed the Long Island serial killer, this unidentified perpetrator has left behind a trail of bodies, many of whom were sex workers. The killer's choice of victims and method of disposal, dumping their bodies along a desolate stretch of beach, have led investigators to suspect they may have had knowledge of law enforcement procedures. Despite ongoing investigations and multiple suspects, the killer remains at large, leaving a community gripped by fear. Number 1. The Boston Strangler. And finally, we come to the case that still sends shivers down the spine. The Boston Strangler. Between 1962 and 1964, a series of brutal murders shook the city of Boston. The victims, mostly women, were found strangled in their own homes, often with articles of clothing tied around their necks. Despite the conviction of Albert DeSalvo for several of the murders, doubts remain about whether he acted alone, making the true identity of the Boston Strangler one of the greatest mysteries in criminal history. And there you have it, folks, the top 10 murder mysteries that continue to baffle and intrigue us. Which case do you find the most chilling? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more spine-tingling content. Until next time, stay safe out there.